So let's call this segment, like, what does this do? Okay, so if I change something and it looks different, like, how is that going to affect what actually happens to the golf ball? Okay, so let's say that I set up to the golf ball and the club is sitting on the ground pretty neutral and the shaft is like in whatever angle it is when the club is sitting really, really flat. Okay, and then when I change that and I go up, the face points more to the right. So what I could do then is I would twist the shaft to get the face more square again, right? So in theory, like, if I want to hit the ball lower, I've got to pitch the shaft higher. So like on a neutral ball flight, I may have the club sitting flat, but if I want to hit it lower, I'm going to stand closer to it, okay? And so I can get the club more on the toe, and then I would twist the shaft, right, to get that face back to, let's call it net neutral, and that's going to launch the ball lower. And that shot launched about, let's call it like somewhere between like knee high and waist high. Now let's go to the other side of the spectrum, okay? If I go set up neutral and then I lower my hands, now that face vector is pointing like up more and to the left. So if I want to get that face vector on target, I'm going to have to make the face look open. So even though that these grooves on the club face are right of where the shaft is from an orientation standpoint, it's probably going to be pretty net neutral and the ball is going to launch on target because my hands are lower, and thus this is going to help me hit the ball a lot higher. Okay, so like that one carried and probably rolled out maybe like 3 or 4 feet tops, okay, on a exact same distance shot. Like those balls went within like 8 inches of each other, okay? Another way that I would look at like changing something would be like, what happens when I hood the face? So if I get the grooves kind of pointed to the left of the shaft from an orientation standpoint, if I want to hit this on target, I have to pad the golf club more in to out, and that in to out path is going to help me hit a really low draw. So it's going to create an increased smash factor. I'm going to hit it really, really solid. The ball is going to take off really hot, okay, and it's going to run really, really, really far relative to some of the other chips that I would hit. The opposite of that would be like, what happens if I get the face more open? Well, to hit this on target, my path is going to have to be more inward or like across the ball. And from there, I'm going to be putting like cut spin on the ball. So when would this kind of shot here be useful? And I would say the main way that I would utilize this shot is, let's say I look out here and there's a hill to the right of the pin, right? And this hill goes this way. So every shot that I hit is going to land. It is going to kick down to the left. Well, what happens when I hit a cut shot, okay? The ball, let's just say the ball isn't backspinning and side spinning. It's like the rod in a globe. So you tilt the axis of the golf ball and the ball is going to spin on that axis, but the axis may not be neutral. Like, think of it like the wings on an airplane. So when I go to hit a cut shot, and I can see here, like the club sitting flat, I'm going to open the face, okay? When I go to hit a cut shot, I can hit the shot, I can tilt the axis into the hill that's on the right, and that's basically going to crash the golf ball like a plane crashing into a hill, right? So it's going to help the golf ball stop quicker. So with the face open, if I can get the axis of this golf ball to tilt a little bit to the right, because the ball's axis is crashing into the hill there, it stops quicker. Whereas if I were to do the opposite, let's say I wanted that golf ball to run a little bit more, I would aim a little bit right with the face hooded and get the ball curving with the hill, and now that ball is going to take off and run down to the pin, and 2 shots turn out pretty comparably, but they're completely opposite sides of the spectrum. And in my opinion, when you're going and hitting shots, the easiest way to calibrate neutral is to be able to equally do both sides of the spectrum, so that way your neutral is neutral enough, okay? So again, like, what happens when you make changes? Like, let's start off with the face square again and go lower with the handle. Now the face is pointed left, so I have to open it, and from here this shot's going to launch significantly higher, right, than if I do the exact opposite. If I get the toe down, meaning I lift the handle more and I get closer to it, now the face vector's to the right, so I'm going to shut the face or square it back up, and now that ball launches lower. And again, 2 shots that turned out pretty similarly, but look completely different based on things that I changed and varied before I actually pulled the trigger on hitting the shot. All right, so again, like, maybe not a better training aid in the entire world for understanding concepts and trying to figure out like how to make changes. And again, I can't advise you enough to get one of these and really work on your protocols with that. All right, let me know how that helps.